Deadly power lines dance around your car. And the earth threatens to swallow you whole. Can you avoid a thundering landslide?
Is it really worth your life?
They got killer bees down there. Don't go that way.
Or escape a swarm of furious bees?
Are they chasing you?
From a scorcher in the sun
Second-degree sun blister burn
to a sub-zero nightmare.
I've been stuck out here going on 10 hours.
Mother Nature makes the rules.
Natural disasters, extreme and unexpected danger. You will choose your fate.
Oh my God.
Oh my God!
You're standing on your back porch when you see a terrifying specter taking shape in the clouds.
Look at the flying! Get in the house!
Hypnotized by its awesome power, you watch as the ominous funnel chews through neighborhood homes.
It's coming toward us.
Go! Leave that door so I can get in.
Snap out of it.
Oh my God!
This tornado is coming straight at you. How would you survive this violent twister? Should you, A, keep watching the tornado to track where it's going? B, open all doors and windows to balance the internal and external air pressure? Or C, take cover in the basement to avoid flying debris? The choice is yours, but what are you really up against?
Tornadoes are spinning very, very fast, 200, 300 miles an hour sometimes. But their forward speed is much, much slower, moving maybe 10 to 40 miles an hour in most cases. Tornadoes occur across Europe, across Asia, Bangladesh, China, some even in South America. But by far, the biggest tornado risk, the biggest hazard is from the violent supercells that form in the Midwest and high plains of the United States.
Every year, nearly 1,000 tear through the heartland. The largest ones are over a mile wide.
A tornado is nothing more than an interaction between air currents. We have downdraft air versus updraft air, and they meet and they kind of exchange each other vertically, and that's where a tornado was born.
So whenever you're under that tornado warning, these days, if it's radar indicated and they're talking about seeing debris, there is a deadly, destructive tornado on the ground.
Twisters can cause billions of dollars in property damage and take dozens of lives. Neighborhoods, gone. Semis tossed like toys. Nothing is safe, including you. The tornado is nearly on top of your house. So what should you do next? If you chose C, seek shelter in a basement, you'd be giving yourself the best odds of survival.
The goal is to seek a place where you're not going to be directly hit by debris.
If you don't have a basement, the best thing you can do is to get to an interior closet or bathroom that has plumbing to anchor down the house.
Getting in a bathtub and putting a mattress over your head is a reasonable strategy. Getting under a piece of strong furniture, getting some pillows and blankets and wrapping them around yourself or children. Anything you can do to armor yourself is going to increase your chances of survival.
People always underestimate Mother Nature. They think in some way, maybe if I'm looking at it long enough, I can control it. I can change the tornado from coming into my backyard. No, you can't.
This Illinois resident is mesmerized by the spectacle and takes a terrible risk. He watches as winds rip through his home at over 170 miles an hour. Hammered by debris, he finally retreats to the basement.
Chris, we're okay.
He survives, but he's injured.
Come on, guys. Oh. What happened, Chris? Oh. Chris.
His home is destroyed.
Watching until that tornado comes doesn't help you at all. The safest thing to do is to get down to your shelter, to your basement, as quickly as you possibly can.
And if you think you should open windows and doors when a tornado hits, think again.
Many years ago, when people believed that the inside of tornadoes was like a vacuum, we were told to open windows on one side of the house or the other in order to somehow equalize the pressure so the house wouldn't explode. That's about the worst thing you can do.
Well before you get to the radius of maximum wind, your windows are gone. And you don't want to be in front of it when the window goes. It's not pretty.
But what if you're not in your home? You're on the open road driving in your car.
What's going on right here? Yeah, let's back up.
A tornado crosses the highway in front of you.
House just got destroyed. House is getting destroyed.
You're flooring it in reverse, but the unpredictable twister has a surprise for you.
It's turning, it's turning. You think so?
Yeah, it's coming right at us.
You are directly in its path. Now what? Would you A, turn around and outrun the twister? B, get out of your car even if there's no immediate shelter in sight? Or C, park your car and seek shelter beneath an overpass? No matter what you do, there are no guarantees for your safety. But the best answer is B, get out of your car.
Go, go, go!
You don't want to be in your car in a tornado. Cars are flung and rolled and tossed, and they literally become scrap metal. You don't want to be part of that.
It's better off to get out of your car and try to seek the best shelter you can before the tornado gets to you. If you have a couple minutes, maybe you can get to a strong building. If you only have seconds, you might just have to get in a ditch by the side of the highway.
Though choosing to stay in your car isn't always a bad choice, it can have terrible consequences.
Go, go, go. Just keep going if you can. Keep going if you can. Everybody duck down. Everybody duck down.
But can you outrun the twister?
You might think, hey, I can outrun this. I can go 70 or 80 miles an hour and get away. While in theory that might be true, in realistic conditions, under a violent supercell with rain and hail and wind, there are trees that might be falling down on the road. There could be flash flooding.
Oh, there's one right there! Oh, crap!
You might wind up driving into a worse situation than you are right now.
As for trying to avoid the twister under a concrete overpass,
Overpasses are notorious for constricting the flow of air and becoming sort of like a wind tunnel. You'll be sucked out from underneath.
What is that up there?
Somebody in that car?
Is that a car? Can we go check on those guys?
There's a car that's just mangled.
Parking beneath an overpass is a big no. You don't want to do that.
twisters remain one of the most devastating weather phenomena on the planet. If you're in the middle of a supercell thunderstorm, you should monitor the news and listen to local authorities. But if a tornado touches down, you need a plan. If you're in your car, get out and seek shelter immediately. Once inside, go to the basement. If there is no basement, find a small room like a closet or bathroom. Stay away from windows and doors.
Do you really want to be out there when there's severe weather? I don't think so. Just monitor the situation. That's how people survive.
Oh my God!
Look at these bees.
Holy crap! An army of angry bees is about to put you in the crosshairs. And live power lines erupt in sparks on your car. A tornado in Texas carried which of these objects in the air for half a mile before leaving it on top of a telephone pole? A, a saddle, B, a refrigerator, or C, a truck? Which of these objects was carried by a tornado for half a mile and left on top of a telephone pole? The answer is B. On April 28, 1950, a twister dropped a refrigerator on the top of a telephone pole near Clyde, Texas. Now off to the beach, where you can relax and lay out in the warm sun. But while the sun may put you to sleep, it can also be deadly. Your skin blisters with a nasty sunburn. Okay, now what are you going to do? Do you A. Cool yourself down with a cold ice bath? B. Slather on the skin lotion as soon as possible? Or C. Take an anti-inflammatory pain medication? Think it through. Sunburns can be more dangerous than you realize.
Second-degree sun blister burn. Wear sunblock, everyone.
When we talk about rating burns, a sunburn when your skin is entirely pink is basically a first-degree burn. A second-degree burn occurs when you start to see blistering and sloughing off of the tissue in some degree. And then a third-degree burn is actually charring of the skin.
Ultraviolet rays are something to be concerned about. Obviously, they cause sunburns when you are exposed for a long period of time. They can become deadly in the form of skin cancer.
If you've had over 5 sunburns in your life, you've doubled your risk for the most dangerous form of skin cancer, melanoma. It's estimated that over 1/3 of all Americans get sunburned at least once a year. And you just joined their ranks. So you think you know how to treat a brutal sunburn? If you chose A, take an ice bath, you've made a painful mistake.
Extreme cold is not beneficial to a burn. The layers of the skin are divided into the epidermis, the dermis, which is the layer underneath that. When you expose it to ice, it actually creates a surge of cold that separates the epidermis from the dermis. And so the burn can actually look and physically get worse with the extreme cold of an ice pack or an ice bath.
As for slathering on lots of lotion, bad idea. Used in moderation, some lotion can be helpful, but you need to choose it carefully.
Certain types of lotion are not really recommended. I've heard people putting on oil or butter, and this can actually exacerbate it by irritating the skin, so you want to avoid those. The best thing to treat a sunburn with, good old-fashioned aloe vera. It's one of the most common remedies, and it's comfortable.
That leaves just one answer. The best thing you can do is C, take some pain pills, specifically anti-inflammatory medicine.
Pain management is actually a really good thing with a sunburn. Take anti-inflammatory medication like ibuprofen. It helps to slightly decrease the inflammatory response within the superficial skin layer.
He should have went to the hospital.
Another tip, hydrate. Drink lots of water.
Make sure that you take in adequate fluids, either water or electrolyte-containing solutions, which help to essentially hydrate the skin.
The body is fairly well equipped to deal with heat for a short period of time. After long periods of time, you quickly become dehydrated, and that can ultimately affect the buildup of toxins in your body and a number of other really negative side effects.
When it comes to sunburns, prevention is key.
So when you're out in a hot environment, very simple maneuvers are going to be your friend. So shade's going to give you a lot of protection against heat injury in the sun. Brimmed hats are going to give you protection. You want to wear light-colored, loose-fitting clothes so that you have some protection from sun and allow the sweat to evaporate.
Best prevention, if you're going to be outdoors, is use a sunscreen. You're going to want to use a broad-spectrum sunscreen that covers UVA and UVB protection. The SPF value in a sunscreen is basically the filtering value. An SPF of 30, for example, only allows 1/30 of the UV radiation to penetrate into your skin. So the higher the SPF value, the better protection you have.
Remember, stay in the shade during peak hours and wear a broad-spectrum sunscreen with a high SPF value. If you do get a sunburn, take an anti-inflammatory pain reliever and drink lots of water. Follow this advice and you won't get burned.
Was it worth it?
By your time in the sun.
Look at these bees. They must be building a nest down there.
A resident has just discovered invaders in his neighborhood.
Look at that. They're just flying in and out. Isn't that crazy? What if there's honey? They're in this one too.
Bees have set up shop in a pair of curbside water utility boxes.
I'm gonna pop it open and see what's in there.
Bad idea. But his curiosity compels him to see more.
It's stuck on here really tight.
It doesn't even occur to him that these could be Africanized honeybees, or as most people know them, killer bees.
Holy crap!
Would you know what to do if a swarm of bees unleash their fury at you? You're about to go deep into a geological death trap.
Wow.
What will you do when there's an electrifying disaster? And can you escape a crushing wall of mud?
No!
I'm gonna pop it open and see what's in there. It's stuck on here really tight.
This man is playing with fire. He doesn't realize that this could be a colony of killer bees.
Holy crap!
Panic takes over. He feels dozens of stings on his arms and legs. The bees are on the attack. What would you do if you were in his shoes? Would you A, stop, drop, and roll to smother the swarming bees? B, run as far and fast as you can? Or C, jump into the nearest body of water, like a creek or your neighbor's pool? If these are killer bees, your life could depend on your answer.
The name killer bees arises because Africanized bees are more likely to swarm and attack than honeybees. Killer bees are found in southern states and the Southwest.
Stinging, stinging.
He's being attacked by bees. Oh no, the little girl!
Africanized honeybees originated in tropical and subtropical climates. As of right now, they seem to be most concentrated in those tropical, warm areas, the southwest U.S. deserts, such as Arizona, New Mexico, and West Texas.
There can be as many as 80,000 killer bees in a single colony, and usually only experts can tell the difference between killer bees and their more docile cousins.
Typically, they'll be found at water sources. They tend to be aggressive and will fly at your face, usually towards your eyes. If you get stung hundreds of times, your chance of survival is quite low. Usually shock sets in, and people either usually die from asphyxiation or heart failure.
They got killer bees down there. Don't go that way. Oh God. Bees! Get me out of here, bees! There's lots of bees! Lower me down!
Killer bees account for around 40 deaths every year in the United States. But remember, any bee attack can be deadly. 2 million Americans are allergic to bee stings.
Trying to get away.
Attacks by bees usually come because someone is either too close to a swarm or too close to a hive. A lot of times, digging activities will cause Africanized bees to attack you.
Holy crap! Something that you learn the hard way. Frenzied and furious bees are relentlessly stinging you. So how do you think you'd survive a bee attack? The correct answer? Run.
Oh my God!
The best thing to do is run straight and as far as you can, as fast as you can. But realize you're going to have to run a minimum of half a mile to get away from an angry swarm.
This disturbed a bee's nest over there.
But what if he had stopped, dropped, and rolled?
Stop, drop, and roll would not be a good idea. You're likely to crush the bees, release more pheromones, which would precipitate an even greater attack.
And jumping into water?
If you jump into water, you're not getting away from them, you're just prolonging the inevitable. You've got to come up for air, and as soon as your head pops up, they're going to sting you again.
So if you manage to escape, but were stung a few times in the process, what then?
If you do get stung, you'll see that the bee sting will remain in your flesh. If you pinch it, it tends to squeeze more venom in. But if you scrape it out rather than pinch it, it seems to work. And the quicker you do it, the better, because whilst the sting is in there, it has a little poison sac which keeps pumping.
Don't get the shit, dude. Shut the door.
But despite the risks, some people still don't take the threat seriously.
Because my husband just doesn't learn his lesson the first time. He wants to Instagram a picture of the bees.
This man is lucky. These aren't killer bees.
Are they chasing you? Oh my gosh. My husband, not smart.
I got stuck in my hair and then right in the top of my head.
If you are attacked by killer bees, your legs are your best weapons. Run as fast as you can to the nearest shelter and shut the bees out. If no shelter is available, keep running in a straight line until they give up the pursuit. Resist your natural impulse to swat or kill the bees. It will only make them more aggressive. If you act fast and run fast, you can survive this encounter with killer bees. The earth rips open and nothing is safe. You're in the path of a deadly debris flow.
Stop! Stop!
And a winter storm entombs your car in suffocating snow.
The snow is at the top of the doors.
What should you do? Did you know? Bees may behave more aggressively on windy and cloudy days when it's harder to search for nectar and pollen. Heavy rain and fierce winds. You're braving this bad weather for a drive across town. After all, what's the harm? The answer to that hits you in a flash. Live power lines brought down by falling branches are sparking all around you, and you're sitting in a car made of metal. So do you think you'd know what to do? Would you, A, open the door and make a run for it as soon as possible? B, stay put and hunker down inside your car? Or C, climb through the window and onto the roof to signal for help? The right answer may shock you, but not as much as the wrong ones.
Generally speaking, when wind gets up to about 58 miles per hour, it's enough wind to start knocking down trees or tree limbs, power lines, and that's why a severe thunderstorm warning is issued when winds are expected to be at that speed.
Another common cause? Accidents.
There's an urban myth out there that tires are a good insulator for a car. If there's a power line on your car, oh, don't worry, you got rubber tires. Well, tires have steel belts in them. Tires aren't rated for any type of insulation.
Vehicle tires are conductors, not insulators.
Oh my God.
Electric shock can cause serious damage to the human body, from external burns to internal muscle, nerve, and tissue destruction. Electric currents can also interrupt the heart, causing cardiac arrest. So there you are, inside your vehicle, living an electric nightmare. Do you think you could survive live power lines around your car? Your best bet? B, stay in your ride.
If you're in a car and you're touching down power lines, you want to stay in that vehicle until those power lines have been safely secured.
You're going to be safer in an enclosed area than you are trying to get out of the vehicle, touching metal, and potentially getting electrocuted.
Even if wires are not sparking, they could still be energized. Do not trust any wires to be dead. Wait until the utility service arrives and tells you that it is safe and that the wires have been de-energized. So getting out is a big no, but there's one critical exception.
So if you're in a situation where there is an immediate life hazard, such as the car's on fire, what you want to think about is getting as much distance as you can between you and those wires.
If you do have to open the door very carefully. Try not to touch any metal. What you want to do is put both feet together and stand on the sill of your door and hop out of the vehicle, landing on both feet.
Once you land, don't lift your feet off the ground. Instead, shuffle away in small increments. That's because the ground could be charged, and if you lift your foot, you might create a dangerous arc between you and the road. Step potential is electricity flowing along the ground from a source such as downed power lines. If a person walks into an electrical field, their body becomes a conductor and can cause serious injury or death.
Continue to shuffle your feet together, staying in contact with the ground until you're probably at least 50 feet away.
Fallen power lines are extremely dangerous. If you don't want to get what could be a deadly electric shock, stay in your car. If your life depends on it, exit the vehicle by hopping out, then shuffling away. Never let your body touch the car and the ground at the same time. Play it smart, and with luck, you'll survive this electrifying encounter. In some places, there's a thread just below the surface. The ground opens up, swallowing roads, trees, and homes. Sinkholes are unpredictable and dangerous. If you were driving and your car were to suddenly drop into a sinkhole, would you know what to do to survive? Would you A, stay in your car and honk the horn to draw attention to yourself? B, sit very still so as not to disturb the crumbling sinkhole? Or C, leave your car and climb out of the hole as fast as you can? Choose carefully. You're up against a perilous trap.
A sinkhole is a depression or a cavity that opens up in the ground. They happen slowly, so whether you see it or not, you could have a 40-foot void under you. And it's rainwater really that's just going through those soils, it's eroding them, it's causing a cavern underneath, just slowly just getting bigger. You might not have any warning signs, but then you get just a little bit more rainwater, and that just causes the whole thing to collapse. So a sinkhole will open up, it'll swallow a house, a car, basically anything that's standing in its way.
And sinkholes can form underwater too. Here, a stand of trees vanishes into the Louisiana Bayou. Scientists estimate that 20% of the U.S. is susceptible to sinkholes. But there's one state that's become notorious for them: Florida. Between 2006 and 2010, Florida residents filed an average of nearly 17 sinkhole insurance claims per day, resulting in $1.4 billion in damages.
Florida has so many sinkholes because it has a very unique geology. The bedrock that underlies Florida is limestone, buried by very thick sequences of sand and clay. The limestone's 20, 30 million years old, so it's had a long time to sit there and dissolve and create quite large cavities.
Wow. Oh my God.
In 2010, a colossal 300-foot wide sinkhole in Guatemala swallowed a 3-story factory, taking the lives of 15 people.
The sinkhole in Guatemala was so big that it just was all blocks of buildings, neighborhoods, and it was due to the poor corroded sewage system that was underneath the ground. And what happened was people felt shaking and they actually thought it was an earthquake, but it was the sinkhole opening up.
Oh my God!
So what would you do if you were driving and your car was swallowed by a sinkhole? Time to decide. The best option? C. Get out of your car, but do it carefully.
If you're driving and your car gets swallowed by a sinkhole, the best thing to do is get out as soon as you can. If you're able to leave that vehicle, you want to, because the sinkhole may still be forming and swallow your car further. You may not be able to get out your car door. You may have to climb out a window, climb out your trunk, but get out any way you can. If a sinkhole opens up, it could be a cause of a water break or a sewage break. There is going to be water at the bottom, so there's a good chance that that water will be contaminated, and you definitely don't want to be in contact with that water because you don't know what's in it.
As for the wrong answers, they become the right things to do if you can't climb out.
If you can't get out of your car, you want to hold still as much as you can because that sinkhole is still active and it probably is still moving. So you moving in the car is not going to help matters. If you're stuck, stay in the car, try to call 911. If you're not getting a signal, yeah, honk your horn, roll your windows up so that you can save as much oxygen as possible. You don't want to have any of the dirt come in, water. You want to try to, keep as much of that out so that you can get rescued.
If you're driving and your car gets swallowed in a treacherous sinkhole, get out of your car and cautiously climb to safety. If you can't get out, call 911, roll up your windows, and honk your horn. Follow these tips, and if you're lucky, you won't end up 6 feet under.
Wow, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm not gonna lie, my heart's racing.
Disaster on a snowy highway leaves you in ice-cold torment.
I've been stuck out here going on 10 hours.
Wow, look at it, it's coming down the hill here.
And a wall of mud will have you running for your life. A long drive home can turn ugly when a snowstorm threatens to stop you in your tracks.
It's a winter storm briefing.
The snow gets deeper. As you plow ahead, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. You're going to make it. You don't make it. Now you're stuck.
I can barely see it without I have to wipe the window.
It might surprise you that this situation can be deadly.
Literally, the snow is right at the top of the door. It's near the window. It's like I'm in a cave.
What would you do if you were stranded in the snow? Would you, A, abandon your vehicle and go find help? B, stay put and crack the windows open so you won't suffocate? Or C, keep the engine running so rescuers can locate you? Consider your options. You could be in serious danger.
As you venture out and the conditions are snowy, you have to be aware of situations that may leave you stranded, whether it's driving off of a highway or turning on to a rural road that has a lot of snowpack on it.
Driving in ice and snow is very dangerous. It's easy to lose control, you panic, and you find yourself in a situation where it could lead to a crash.
Uh-oh. Oh, God. Stop. Stop. Oh, gosh.
Vehicles are built to insulate themselves from a sound standpoint. There isn't insulation like you have in your home in a vehicle to really protect it and create a cocoon for yourself.
At 75 North, mile 240, be my gravestone because my batteries are dying.
Once your vehicle runs out of gas, it literally becomes a freezing cold tin can, which offers very little insulation from the cold temperatures.
We've been in here for like 20 minutes and I can still see my breath.
It's like 12 degrees outside.
A common mistake when stuck in snow for an extended period of time is getting outside and trying to dig yourself out. Now you're freezing and is absolutely a risk for hypothermia.
Stranded in snow, you have a tough choice.
If they don't get me in enough time, my car could be covered completely in snow. I could be barricaded under here. I don't know if I'll suffocate. I don't know what will happen.
What would you do if you were stuck in your car in a snowstorm? Your best bet? B, crack the windows open. That's because you'll need to intermittently run the car for heat. and that creates a deadly byproduct, carbon monoxide.
Assuming that your vehicle is still in running condition and you still have ample fuel, you're going to want to start the engine approximately every 20 to 30 minutes to get the heater going again.
One of the things you have to be concerned about if you have your vehicle and you're running the engine is the buildup of carbon monoxide. And you wouldn't normally notice this in the vehicle as you drive down the highway because it's exhausted out the tailpipe. But once you're stopped and your tailpipe either potentially gets clogged or covered because of the snow, it could start to seep through the exhaust system in the vehicle and enter the vehicle itself. It has no odor and is very dangerous because breathing an increased amount of carbon monoxide is deadly.
You'll feel sleepy, you'll start to feel dizzy, and you also will start vomiting, but that will be a short period before you will lose consciousness.
Nearly 150 people die in the U.S. every year due to accidental carbon monoxide poisoning in their cars.
It's very important to crack your windows on the vehicle periodically, not too much because it's extremely cold outside, but also to periodically get out and make sure that your tailpipe is not covered and dig away the snow from around your tailpipe if you're continuing to run the vehicle as a source of heat.
So if you've cracked the windows open, why shouldn't you just keep the car running?
So I got a little less than a quarter of a tank, and that's keeping me warm at this moment.
It's very difficult to make that decision sometimes. Do I keep the car running? Do I not, based on the amount of fuel I have? So very important to maintain as full a possible fuel tank.
As for abandoning your car to go get help,
some of the dangers of walking away from your car are you are separating yourself from a large object that's easier to spot. In addition, you are exposing yourself to the elements. So you can suffer from hypothermia, you can become disoriented or lost even in an urban area.
I've been stuck out here going on 10 hours. I have some butter bites that I had from Saturday. Luckily, they were still in the car. So I have something to eat.
Caught in nearly 2 feet of snow near Chicago, this driver was lucky to eventually be rescued. But you can't rely on luck. Keep your tank full in winter months. And if you get stranded, stay with your vehicle. Crack the windows open. And turn on the car every 20 to 30 minutes to run the heater.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Keep warm, and you should survive this wintertime horror. Torrential rains can trigger a catastrophe. Landslides, a threat you are about to witness firsthand.
You don't feel you got it?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Right before your eyes, the earth gives way.
Wow, look at it, it's coming down the hill here.
Run.
Get in the back of my truck, get in the back of my truck. Whoa!
Can you escape, or will you be buried alive?
Go, go, go!
Mass movements of Earth are terrifying and deadly. Now you are stepping into the path of a disaster.
Wow, look at it, it's coming down the hill here.
A landslide breaks free, and it's heading straight for you. In this situation, the back of a truck offered a quick getaway as a wall of mud barrels down the road.
Go, go, go! Go!
But what if you didn't have a vehicle? What if you were on foot? What would you do to survive this horrific landslide? Would you A, sprint to the side to get out of its way? B, grab hold of a tree or large rock to protect you from the slide? Or C, run downhill as fast as you can? Landslides can be devastating and tragic. So what are these monumental forces of nature?
Landslide is the movement of earth and soil and debris down a slope. Usually this happens when you get heavier rains in an area and it is soaking the earth and the soil, and at a certain point it can't hold itself up under its weight and it starts sliding down.
Holy cow.
You're going to have mudslides and landslides in areas where you're most prone to wildfire, also areas that have had a history of mudslides or landslides in the past.
my God.
A landslide can potentially wipe out an entire small town.
Look at that tree. That whole tree's going. Look at that.
It can be quite deadly, the cost in human lives and also the cost in repairs. Billions of dollars of damage each year.
There's like a landslide and everything's gone. The houses are gone.
In March of 2014, a landslide near Oso, Washington shocked the country.
Are there any injuries? Yes, there's people yelling for help.
Over 40 people perished in the tragedy. It's been estimated that worldwide, debris flows claim over 5,000 lives every year. Which brings us back to you.
Go! Go!
What if you were on foot? What could you do to survive an unstoppable landslide? The best answer? A. Sprint to the side and try to get out of the way.
Anytime anything's coming down that hill at you, you want to move laterally, move side to side, away from the body of the flow. Get out from in front of that. Think of it as a big train coming down the hill at you. You want to get out from in front of that train.
Oh my God.
But should you grab hold of a tree or large rock?
Oh, crap.
This is an immensely powerful force. It snaps trees in half with little effort. It will pick up large house-sized boulders and move them down the hill. If you decide to take shelter behind a tree, behind a boulder, understand that this force is very capable of moving those objects.
What about running downhill? Could that save you?
If you try to proceed downhill, many times you're going to find out that the mudslide or landslide will travel much faster than you can downhill, and it's going to wind up catching you from behind.
Running downhill is a very bad idea. You're going to be buried in and carried along with debris.
Sliding down the...
Debris flows have been recorded moving over 35 miles an hour, far faster than a human can run. That's why spotting them early is so important.
Right there. Be aware of your surroundings. If you feel an earthquake coming on and you're out in a wilderness area, recognize that areas higher around you might have a landslide.
Heavy rain isn't always a reliable indicator because a landslide could break free days after the rain has stopped. But there are other things to look for.
Oftentimes, landslides will give early warning signs that they're about to happen. They could be as simple as a crack in your foundation or a big crack in your sidewalk or driveway. When they start, landslides make an incredible amount of noise. You'll hear trees popping and cracking and boulders rolling and rushing. This is the time to evacuate.
Know the warning signs.
Oh my God.
And if you do find yourself downhill from a wall of earth and mud, run to the side and don't stop until you are far, far away.
No! Get in the back of my truck!